And welcome back to Hannity. Now, as of today, children in New York City will soon be required to get flu shots. Now, thanks to the support from America's nanny, a.k.a. New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, the city's Board of Health voted today in favor of the mandatory flu vaccine for children under 6. Now, the measure will affect about 150,000 children who attend a licensed preschool or a daycare. And proponents say this could prevent 20,000 kids from getting sick each year. Needless to say, many parents are not happy about the mandate and are strongly opposing this plan. So the question is, do you want the government mandating that you force your children to vaccinate them against the flu? Here to debate it, Republican strategist Mercedes Vienna-Schlapp and Democratic strategist Steve Murphy. You know what, Mercedes? Why do I think that the government, the same Michael Bloomberg that tells us we can't have salt, you have to ask for it in a restaurant, you can't smoke. Smoking's dumb, but some people want to smoke. Same guy that tells us how much Coke we can buy. Why do I think this is none of his business? Your
well,
reaction?
I think it's because Mayor Bloomberg, I think he's taking on a new title once he retires, which will be Dr. Bloomberg. He might even have his own show by then. But, you know, again, it's his heavy-handedness. This is how Mayor Bloomberg has functioned from the beginning. And when you look at it, for example, let's take the soda ban. The New York Supreme Court basically ruled against the soda ban, saying that this same New York Board of Health that approved it exceeded its legal authority. So again, this New York Board of Health, they're all appointees from the mayor. They're very activist in their way of thinking, and they really do not believe that parents can make, and their healthcare providers, make the best decisions for their children. Of course parents are outraged.
Now, to be fair, they do have an opt-out. Most parents probably aren't going to hear that much about this provision. Go ahead, Mercedes.
But the opt-out is only on religious grounds and medical grounds. But if you philosophically oppose to it, which I know, for example, many homeopathic doctors won't agree to it. Mark Levin doesn't agree with it either. You know, that creates a problem. It should be left in the hands of the parents and of their healthcare providers.
Listen, I have friends, Steve, that are very holistic in their health, in their belief. I come from a more traditional family. I had sisters who were nurses, brother-in-law is a doctor. So I'm more in favor to get the flu shot. But I have people that have very strong opinions against it. And I think we ought to respect their opinions. They ought to be able to raise their children as they see fit.
That's, first of all, I'm completely in favor of this. And secondly, I think that's totally wrong. You don't have a legal right or a moral right to expose your child to disease unnecessarily.
Steve, you don't have a legal or a moral right to give them, wait a minute, to give them a shot that in many cases makes kids sick and in a few isolated cases violently sick. So you don't have that right either.
The medical community is overwhelmingly in favor of this.
What about the few kids that get violently ill because of the shot?
It happens with all vaccines.
You don't want
to vaccinate for diphtheria? You don't want to vaccinate for cholera,
the same thing,
for
Steve.
polio?
It's not
all
the same
of them
thing.
make people sick occasionally. They all do.
Why don't we just hand our kids over to you, Steve, and Nanny Bloomberg, because you know better how to raise our kids than we do.
Bloomberg is a Republican. You got him, not me.
Excuse me, I didn't know that. He's an independent.
When it comes to the flu vaccine, there was an archives of pediatrics and adolescent medicine that came out with a study basically saying that they couldn't find a significant effectiveness with a flu shot. We learned last year that 65% of seniors who had the flu, who had gotten the flu shot, it wasn't preventing them from getting the flu. So again, it's a bit controversial. Of course, you know, there should be educational campaigns if you think that, you know, the flu shot should be effective. But at the end, it goes
Jenny McCarthy is on television saying, don't have any vaccinations. They cause autism. That's
well,
nonsense.
Stephen, if you're listening to the celebrities, then you're in trouble.
Recommends it,
oh, okay.
And it's going to save
we should
lives,
listen to Dr. Steve Murphy. What medical training do you have, Mr. Professor?
I'm not. Hey, I don't have any.
So
neither do you, and
neither
does Mercedes.
I'm
talking about what they have published in their journals. Get the hell out of our lives.
You're pro-choice, aren't you?
Well, and that's exactly the point.
We're not talking about abortion.
Yes, we are. We're talking about choice.
Vaccinations
choice
here.
Mercedes.
Well, it's interesting that Mayor Bloomberg allows a 10-year-old to go into a school clinic to get emergency contraception that the parents, they don't even have to call the parents about, but yet you're forced to get the flu shot.
Right,
it doesn't matter. It's about mandatory and leaving it in the hands of the parents.
Don't have a medical problem preventing it should have flu
Dr. Steve, who doesn't know anything about medicine, but you know better how to raise our kids. I love this. All right, we got to roll. Thank you.
Hey, I'm doing it the same way you are, Sean.
All right, coming up next, we reveal your choice.